And what I really needed was to recreate myself, which means to bring something new into the world that had never existed before.
We're live. We have Troy Casey, the certified health nut and the author of the book, Ripped at 50. And being unripped at 52, I want to talk to you. Good having you here, Troy.
Hey, thanks so much, Terrance, for having me on. I appreciate it. I love talking to people, and I'm here to get the world healthy, plain and simple. However it shakes out, we're seeing right now.
I have a good friend who lives down the street from you, and I got a message from him on Instagram one night. He said, "Look this guy up. He's on the move." And I started watching one. I mean, I think you're in your red, white, and blue bathing suit. And I said, wow. And you had quite a message. So bring us up to speed on how you ended up doing what you're doing from, I know at one point you were a model in the fashion industry, I think. So talk to us about, your journey and how you got here talking to us now.
Yeah, let me succinctly put that together. So, yeah, I started out as a Versace model. I had digestive issues. 31 years later, I realized that our curse is our gift. Mm-hmm. There are two forces on this planet, yin and yang, masculine, feminine, inhalation, exhalation, anabolic, catabolic, the list goes on. Mm-hmm. So I had digestive issues. I didn't know what was happening. I was bloating, constipated, acid reflux. So when I got to Milan to market myself for a new career, because I didn't know what I was doing, I had no education except for chasing paper. Mm-hmm. I had no idea what I loved, what I loved to do. So went to college for a little while, got an opportunity to do modeling. I thought, oh, okay, let me go chase some paper. This sounds easy mm-hmm. and fun or whatever. Right. And I instantly realized it was kind of a ruthless industry, and the agents, they'd love to get into your pants, and kind of the control of work, or mm-hmm. big jobs and stuff like that. It's kind of a clandestine crew, mm-hmm. and, sometimes people get hired off their genetics, and other times people get hired off of playing games. I only got so far with what I could do, but the first thing that I did was went down to the bookstore and gave it the old American college try. Right. And, hey, I'm bloating. Mm-hmm. I have a problem. Let me go solve it. So I started reading on nutrition. Lo and behold, Captain Crunch and Pop-Tarts isn't real food. Who knew, right? I'm an American. That's the way I grew up. So this is late 80s. So I started reading about fruits and vegetables. Boom. First started shifting my diet. Definitely got results. The toilet bowl was, lit up completely. As soon as I started pumping in lots of fruits and vegetables into the body. And so I was like, wow, I got results. Okay, then I started checking out fasting. Then I started checking out herbs. Then I started taking dandelion for my bloating, and I started doing 10-day juice cleanses. And I look in the mirror, and I look like a spring chicken, right? Wow. That's marketable. That's, good for my business. So I was hooked 31 years ago. Mm-hmm. So since then, I've been fasting, intermittent fasting, juice fasting, herbs, cleanse and detoxification, liver flushes, colon cleanses, etc. I've been doing that for 31 years. But through the progression of my modeling career, I ended up doing 4 Versace campaigns, getting extremely successful. But it's a little bit of a dysfunctional industry that partying is built into that industry. And so I started going off the deep end, just partying too much. And you waste your potential when you do that. Right. And there I was, 28, as a professional party animal. Had a lot of health knowledge, but I got caught up in the system that I was in. Mm-hmm. So then I had to sober up. Mm-hmm. And I wanted to move to Los Angeles and build an acting career. I realized that I couldn't build a new career on being a drunk, right? Mm. So I sobered up. I used AA, as much as I could, glean as much good information off as I can. But it was step 11, meditation and other aspects. So there I was trying to change careers and still in and out of drinking and partying. And so it was Vipassana meditation that really healed me. Step 11 in AA, I noticed that the people that would speak when step 11 would come up, they'd have a certain je ne sais quoi that not all these other Alcoholics Anonymous people had. So I took note of that, and I was like, oh, this meditation stuff sounds interesting, but I didn't know anything about it. And so I started meditating 1999, not knowing what I was doing, just sitting on my pillow. I figured it out pretty quickly, but then I was waiting tables at the time in Los Angeles, and a waiter turned me on to Vipassana meditation, which is 10-day courses in silence. I sat my first one, and it was like a mental lobotomy completely. I came out as a different person. I did 11 of those in 6 years and was meditating 2 hours a day. So the studies on neuroplasticity has caught up with the yogis. This rewires the human brain. So that was a big part of my healing trajectory. Then I started working with Maori healers from New Zealand, spiritual healers. I saw and witnessed many exorcisms and miracles, and I've been working with them for 23 years. And then somebody turned me on to an herbal company in the Amazon, and I already had an affinity towards herbal medicine and herbs for power and energy. And the Amazon's the penultimate, and the company had super clean products, high quality. So I worked with the company. Then I went down and studied with the indigenous tribes that were harvesting the medicines for us. And then I drank the magical brew ayahuasca. And that was kind of my third big wake-up call. So it was kind of Vipassana meditation, Maori healers, and then my 3 visions I saw in the Amazon in 2006. One was an amalgamation of my on-camera career, my natural medicine studies, and at the time I was doing stand-up comedy. So certified health nut popped into my head, and I laughed out loud. And the thing is when you drink the psychedelics and the ayahuasca, once you get the message, hang up the phone. And then what you do with the message is all on you. If you don't integrate that into your life, your nervous system through the psychedelics is speaking to you all your defilements and all the things that are holding you back. Then you either got to forgive the people that harmed you, or you've got to correct your ways. And you have to do that. With me personally, I'd done so much internal work. There was plenty of work to be done, but the main focus was my vision. So certified health nut, and that's been unfolding ever since. You can see that all online.
Sure. Yep.
Then you've got my family. The spirit of my daughter came to me. I was not married. I was not in a relationship. I had to go home and interview all the girls I was interested in at the time. And most of them were like, I'm not interested in marriage. I'm building an acting career or whatever. So my wife, she was in a position at the time. She was having trouble with her visa. Anyways, it was just a perfect match. She was sweet as pie. And so that's been unfolding ever since. My daughter was the second child that came. And so the vision of my daughter coming to me was the second vision. Third vision was that humanity makes it from the precipice of ecological disaster. Just listening to my mentor, Paul Chek, last night, there's all sorts of research on soil. And we've got about, I think, 60 years maximum of topsoil left. And the topsoil is what makes you, you. If you don't have clean air, water, and soil, clean food and water, etc., life on Earth is not hospitable for the human species. So, I've taken these visions, very seriously. And at the same time, I got a comedy background. You got to make things entertaining. You got to make things accessible to people. You have to compete at the same level that Disney or ABC or any of these other media outlets are. And so, a good message is not enough. It's got to be able to make a little sense, a little common sense. And so that's what I've been doing, is crafting my message. Now, I came out of the jungle in 2006 thinking everybody would love what's happening in the rainforest and the indigenous people and the herbs and everything. They cared to a certain degree, but for the most part, people didn't have the capacity to give a shit. It's 5,000 miles away, the Amazon rainforest. They're driving in a car they can't afford, to a job they hate, don't have enough time to feed themselves properly, shoveling in garbage into their pie hole. And so the videos weren't enough. So I had to do my end around. My mentors always told me, chunk it down, meet people at where they're at. 70% of the American people are obese or overweight. I'm 54 years old. Most people don't look like me. It's not that I'm God's gift to bodybuilding. It's what's possible when you treat a primal animal with balance and nature, when you harmonize. And so that's what Ripped at 50 is all about. It's showing people, what's possible, really.
So you came from the journey of got caught in your 20s, kind of the same I did. Got connected to alcohol and used alcohol as a kind of a funding mechanism to feed my depression, anxiety, which I've read a lot about since. I haven't drank in several years. I didn't use AA, but I know a lot of people that did. Tell me about that that step 11 you visited on. What's step 11? You said that's where you had one of your breakthroughs.
Yeah, I have grievances with the whole AA movement. I think spiritually, the essence of it is spot on. If you actually do the paperwork, which the meetings, it seems like AA has really become about meetings. And I know there's plenty of people that take it seriously and it's really about the steps. I do understand that. But for the most part, from Miami to LA, I'd go to these meetings, and between the shitty cigarettes and the fake coffee and creamer and sugar, and like they're not addressing like root biochemistry, brain chemistry things that are triggering them to go out to the socially acceptable drugs, right? The alcohol, the pharmaceutical drugs, or the illicit drugs, or even marijuana, for that matter. And so they weren't, I don't feel, addressing the problem at the root with the meetings. Obviously, the work is done in the steps. The real rubber meets the road in the steps. But step 11 is sought through meditation and prayer, a constant or deeper connection with source or God or whatever you want to call it.
Gotcha.
And like I said, it was just a simple thing. When people would speak on it, they'd say, "Oh, I got these results," and they were calm. They were more centered. They weren't talking about white knuckling it and running your own program. Like a lot of the old timers is like, they're going to tell you to do your program right, or you're going to end up drunk again. It's all this fear kind of thing. And I'm generalizing, but it put a bad taste in my mouth. And then there's a lot of things about AA that bugged me. So I took what was useful. I discarded the rest. And meditation was the great thing that I got out of AA. And then when I practiced it religiously, it delivered results, and it transformed my life forever.
I mean, people want to be taken somewhere. That's what's interesting about the things that I hear come out of your mouth, that if you're talking to me like you can take me on a journey, not to being ripped, but being free to, and that's what I've noticed about people that come out of anxiety and depression and addiction and all that nasty, dark part of the world, and they find a connection to something. I was actually Instagramming with Johann Hari, who had that famous TED Talk about the opposite of addiction isn't sobriety. The opposite of addiction is connection. To be connected and to be, with source, with your body, your spirit. And I can only speak for myself. For those that have done it, those that I see are people like you that got healthy mentally and physically and connected to another, like using that suffering as a source of contribution. And that leads me to the question of the big question. People are saying, like, I want to be ripped at 50. Like, what is the algorithm, the steps that you would suggest, or even to consider, getting the book and reading it and taking the actions? How do you meet someone like me? I mean, there's lots of people worse off than me, but bring me on a journey to being ripped and spiritually free.
More free. Yeah. So, the first thing that I have people do is really look in the mirror naked, literally and figuratively, like really get clear with who you are and what, your makeup is. And the ripped at 50 can be an illusion, but if you go on that journey, because most people, they want to be ripped like me, but they have a completely different metabolic constitution. And transforming your lifestyle, people think that I'm a gym rat. I haven't been to the gym, and I've been 4 times in 5 months. Coronavirus shut down Gold's Gym, so I've been there 4 times. I haven't even lifted weights in 5 months. My sleep and my nutrition and my stress management and, the 9 pillars that I teach, those things optimize my fitness. And so, Terrance, tell me what was the question again?
Well, you just said it, the 9 steps. I mean, what's the I teach people algorithms, formulas, steps, heuristics to get, everybody, we want to be amazing, but we want shortcuts as humans. We're just inclined to do that. But that, talk about the 9 steps. I mean, the first one, if you're looking at yourself in the mirror naked, I mean, that's what that's a good place to start.
We get clear mentally, and then we get that clear mental picture of who and what we want to be. Now, the path to it, and this is where people drop out, right? Your path to it is directly related to where you're at right now and where you want to be. and is directly related to the emotional weight, WEIGHT, to release, the time weight, WAIT, for the emotional weight that you're carrying with you, your ideas, your unforgiveness, your resentment, your need to be right, your need to be frustrated, your need to be angry at yourself because you can't lose the weight, or there are these needs. A lot of people that gain weight or steroids or whatever, that protective barrier, lots of times they were abused by someone. Maybe it was sexually, and psychologically, it's like, I'll just become fat so nobody will want me and I won't have to relive that trauma again. So there's some deep elements to go very deep to get to that penultimate human that you want to be. In the meantime, everybody can pay attention to their hydration. You should have clean water as a human being. The cleanest you can, optimize your water without going neurotic. Then you want to go to your nutrition. The food supply is contaminated. 70% of the American people are obese or overweight. So get very clear that your body requires the highest quality organic nutrition. Our grandparents used to call organic food food, right? We just have industrial compounds now that and organophosphates and other herbicides like Roundup that are wreaking havoc in our gut microbiome. It's wreaking havoc in our nervous system, in our reproductive system. Sterility rates are at an all-time high. And so these things, these endocrine disruptors, these low-level poisons for the nervous system and endocrine system that take out other pests, right? Pesticides, what are pests? Weeds or bugs. And so my question to everyone out there watching this that thinks organic is too expensive, what is the long-term low-level exposure to these neurotoxins, to these endocrine toxins? Right? What does that do to your hormones? Ever heard of chronic fatigue, autoimmune, that's all on the rise since, 40 years after introducing these things into the environment and the food supply? So going back to the basics, hydration, nutrition, movement as medicine. Movement is a necessity, not a luxury. And so the body requires to move. The pelvic floor, the transverse abdominis, and the diaphragm is the pump of the interstitial fluid. The purpose of exercise is to move the lymphatic fluids. And so a stagnant body of water turns into a cesspool. You want a disease? Become a couch potato. Eventually it will, bring on. So then what else do you have? Your breathing mechanics. Most people are mouth breathing. That's going to elevate cortisol. You're not going to get proper sleep, restoration. Like, look no further than your breathing mechanics. I have a whole online course called Breath is Life to optimize your own breathing mechanics, making sure that you're breathing from the dantian, from the lower centers, opening up the diaphragm. That will fuel your mind as well as your body as far as nitric oxide and oxygenating the blood. And so optimize that. Then let's go check on your thoughts. What are your thoughts? How were you brought up? Was money scarce? Have you moved through any money blockages issue? Because this is an abundant world that we live in. And so what is it going to take to move through that? Deepak Chopra says something like we have 90,000 thoughts a day, and 80% of them we thought yesterday and they were negative. So where's your thoughts coming from? Now, I did a gratitude journal when I was going through my divorce. It was excellent, 1.5 years, steady. And I am so grateful for hell or high water, happy or sad. I'm just grateful to be alive and on this magical planet and feeling whatever pain I'm going through or joy. Yeah. And so the gratitude can set you free. The other thing with the thinking is really check your thoughts, check your programs. You got 12 years of industrial age school system inside of you. Here's a news flash. The industrial age is over with, right? Your university. Who funds those universities? Rockefeller Foundation, Pew National Trust. What are their investments in the Rand Corporation, the Tavistock Institute, fighting wars, justifying wars, owning media conglomerates? Like, what's really going on? They're funding all this pharmaceutical research, pharmaceutical drugs are toxic to the human body. In fact, you just have to read your inserts to realize that. Who started the American Medical Association? Oh, Rockefeller Foundation. Who are the oil people? What is the number one thing that's holding humanity back? Well, oil is what I postulate, from the oil wars to the destruction of the rainforest. And then you've got the petrodollar that's pegged to that. Well, the Rockefellers are bankers too. And not that the Rockefellers are, we got to vilify them or anything, but a man knows what's on the horizon, what can eat him and what potentially is to eat, right? And so you want to be aware, and we've been so dumbed down that we don't question how the world works. So a good book to read is Confessions of an Economic Hitman if you want to understand geopolitics and how the way works. Otherwise, you don't have to worry about that. Just read my book and start paying attention to your thoughts, where you're programming, and then how do you deprogram the mind? Hypnosis, psychedelics, and meditation. So pick your poison. Psychedelics is the shortcut, but if you're not going to integrate that spiritually and learn those lessons, you can get psychosis from that, right? Hypnosis is probably the low-hanging fruit because you don't have to do as much work as meditation, right? And psychedelics aren't legal in the United States, or they are, but you have to go through the Native American church. So my point is, those are the real three system defrags. The three system defrags are hypnosis, psychedelics, and meditation. And I've been practicing meditation for many years and trying to share that with other people. And most people are so busy and so digitally overwhelmed, they don't have the time to give to meditation. So that's not my first choice for people. My first choice would be a movement meditation or simply walking, because that's going to harmonize the right and left hemispheres of the brain with your cross crawl. It's going to harmonize and rhythmically balance out the body. And so let's get you into movement meditation first, or walk in the woods. That could be a meditation, something simple meditation for you, because sitting for an hour is not most people's cup of tea. So really go through the thinking. Then you've got your relationships to optimize, nature to optimize, your connection to nature, and read Clint Ober's book, Earthing, because it's a massive scientific document. A lot of research done at UCLA on inflammation and all sorts of other things. Most people are not grounded. And since the late 60s, we've had rubber soles. And so we've been disconnected from the earth. And this disconnection is showing up in our statistics and our psychological ways of being. Just look on the world stage. You don't like geopolitics? Look no further than your disconnection from the earth. So become part of the solution. So then of course the legacy, which we started out with, which a lot of that has to do with looking in that mirror naked and figuratively, and then figuring out what your purpose, your dream, your legacy is. And I've got many exercises, 3 exercises, very simple, that are in the book to help guide you to there. And I also do this work in my men's group, Man Clan. And so I really help men figure out their purpose so that it ends up being a roadmap and a North Star for them to wake up in the morning and know where they're going. Because if you don't know where you're going, anywhere will do.
Right. Yeah, I read that book, Changing Your Mind by Michael Pollan. There's more, he does a whole book on psychedelics keeps coming up. The junk food industry is spending $4 billion on junk food research, justifying why junk food's good. Real food only gets $1 billion. And, it's trusting the source is the consistent message that I'm hearing. If someone says don't do something, or something, if I hear something on the news that says someone is bad or something is bad, it leads me to believe that might be good. Psychedelics are bad, right? This person is bad. 92% of the news I'm hearing is bad. I think it's maybe 100. So I don't even watch TV anymore. But, you talk about getting your information from the source, and the source is in the proof. That you're healthy and vibrant, and the way you look is the only way people can find out so far.
Well, the proof is always in the pudding. My mentor always said, results never lie. So always, if you're getting information from a talking head, make sure that they have what you want. Or if it's a health person, tell them to rip off their clothes and show them the scientific proof of their program. So the other thing I wanted to say a little bit about that is, people are all up in arms about the geopolitics right now. But how many people out there actually watch the press briefings without the edits and the pundits speaking on what the person spoke about? Not too many that I know. Right. So if you want source information, if you're confused, go straight to the source and hear it uninterrupted, as opposed to the little soundbite commercial you just watch from CNN, because they're selling an agenda.
Right. Yeah.
Their agenda is, it's multidimensional chess. You don't even know what their end game is. Control. And there's 5 corporations that own a lot of everything, and it's intertwined with weapons, oil, pharmaceutical drugs, agribusiness, chemicals, and media. Those are the 5 multinational conglomerates that are intertwining everything and working to control the human mind. And Disney and Time Warner and these types of corporations that are also working with the Monsantos and the Pfizers. When you look at like hedge funds and stuff like that, they're all grouped together. They're all solid, and they have investors like the Warren Buffetts and the Bill Gates of the world, and they own, all that wealth, and they funnel all that wealth. But those are the big 5: drugs, weapons, oil, media, and ag chemicals.
Oh yeah. Well,
and those are the things that are keeping things in place.
I saw you
did humble opinion.
I saw you did an interview with Joel Salatin. I had the pleasure of being at his farm a few months ago and talking about, the first thing he said was, about food costing more, organic food. He said, no, the price is in the food. When you buy cheap food, you pay later in healthcare.
Correct. Or taxes and subsidies. Most people don't realize, we got this whole totalitarian tiptoe, communist Marxism. We're the United States of America. We believe in freedom, right? And we forget the Marxist manifesto. And so totalitarian control. And this stuff is just making a little tiptoe into our consciousness, and it's sneaking in there. And so, don't take the bait.
Right.
Don't take the bait and get back to basics and be your own master. Don't wait for government to solve any of your problems. You want to be a sovereign, complete, self-governed entity so that you can contribute to the rest of the world, and take care of what God gave you mentally, emotionally, physically, and spiritually. Everything needs nutrition. Everything needs rest and nutrition and nourishment. And so spiritually nourish yourself, mentally nourish yourself, emotionally nurture yourself, and physically, of course. It goes without saying, and it's all intertwined and goes hand in hand. So
awesome job. Great information in a half hour. I want to keep to our schedule. How do people get a hold of you?
I'm easy to find. They can Google me. Troy Casey Certified Health Nut is the name of my brand online. I've got my rippedit50book.com. You can find it there. Hashtag rippedit50. I built the branding into the title of it, so you can hashtag the rippedit50. Instagram is where I'm most active. YouTube is where I put up the most of my extended content. And then we do lots of live events. I'm in Sedona, Arizona right now. We've got a men's group coming up. We do Friday nights, Men's Fire Circle. And then we do retreats and workshops throughout the year. And my mission is to get the world healthy. So however you guys can interface with me, I'm happy to. And I still answer all my questions online like Gary Vee talks about. I've been doing that for 15 years. People look at me and they think, oh, that's easy, and he has so much influence. Hey, guess what? I worked for free for 10 years. How about that?
No question. All right, Troy Casey, the Certified Health Nut and Ripped at 50. Thank you for your time and your big ideas.
And I got some big ideas.
Thanks,
Well,
Troy.
we didn't get
awesome.
Yeah, sure. We didn't get into my President of Planet Earth campaign.